Hello everyone and welcome to the Cyclocross World Cup here in Namur. Before we dive in, I want to let you all know that this course pre-ride video is brought to you by Whoop. Whoop is a personalized fitness, health, and recovery tool that I've been using this season. It measures biometrics, your daily strain, it rates your recovery, and much more to help you form healthier habits around your training, your work, or your lifestyle. Coming into this race, Whoop has been a big help for me getting over the jet lag and adjusting to my new European schedule here. To get in the green, you can go to whoop.com and use the code INTHERED to save on your first Whoop purchase. Check out that link in the notes below this video. We're coming into the climb up the Citadel, so let's get into it. If we were to look to our left as we hit the base of this climb up the side of the Citadel, you would have looked down the cobblestone climb and you would have seen the start, another 100 meters further down the hill. So as we start this race, it's really a maximum effort and it's a really long sustained effort all the way to the top. There's really no whole shot to say you race to and you let up at the top. It's this max effort, long and drawn out, up the side of the Citadel. It's a pretty consistent climb. It kicks up as we bend to the right slowly, up this bridge. This is where you really you have to muscle the bike up and over. You hit the pavement, spin up the gear, and take a moment to just catch your breath because that's what this course is all about. It's one of the hardest and most iconic tracks that we race on all year long. And it's one of the most physically demanding on the body and on the equipment. So catch your breath, and you really got to pace this race well all throughout the entire hour. It's very easy to overextend. So we're starting to descend a little bit here, and it's going to be a 180 hook to the left. This first lap, it's always chaotic here. You'll see Ditterswick here. Tried to ride that hump over on the left on the inside of that turn. He was able to cleanly with no traffic, but in traffic, everyone's going to be running that. As we continue to climb a little bit more, there are a couple ruts with roots in them. You'll see they're painted orange. There are a lot of rocks and roots on this course that have been exposed or uncovered over the course of the last 10 or so years. Every edition it seems to be very muddy. The course is torn up. You'll see this is another very rooted section. If you're not careful with the equipment or you're not running higher pressure, there's a good chance that you'll see a flat tire. And we saw a lot of flat tires in the course pre-ride here. That iconic drop to the left, up this little gravel climb, 180 right, dropping down onto the pavement again. It almost felt like this is a real mountain biker's course where it's these more sustained efforts coming up the climb and then dropping down, really sending it off these drops or these descents, avoiding the rocks and roots, and you really want to make sure that you're catching the rut here. Coming in with speed off the pavement and then another hard 180 right, get the speed back up and going. This is one of those tracks that's difficult enough to where you really have to know when to use your effort and when to shut it down and to recover, take a deep breath. It's almost like a light switch. You want to turn on the effort, full gas, and then know when to turn it off, catch your breath, and bring in composure to some of these more difficult sections. You'll see that we have yet to reach the most technically challenging part of this course. This is kind of one of those parts where if you're in the group, let up, stretch it back a bit, catch a deep breath because it's going to get very difficult and you want to bring as much composure as you can into the next steep drops. So we're following some pretty fast wheels here. Don Soot, Lawrence Swick, Dieter Sweek right in front of me there. So really good wheels to learn from. Really, most of these riders had some very strong rides. Dismount, quick run up as if we didn't have enough running on this course, but this is one of those things where we're coming up later in the lap, going onto the course there, so it's kind of a figure eight. So remount quick, use the free speed, you really don't need to use the brakes. Up at the top here, and this is one of those descents. We've used it for so many years. It's really chattered out. Almost a pile up there. But over the course of the race, we really developed a nice rut coming into that corner, so it was nice to kind of have that to slingshot us back up to the next right-hand turn. This is a little bit of an off-camber, difficult to see with the camera angle. And again, another steep drop. You'll see the orange painted roots. Rut slingshots to the left here. I'm trying this line following Dieter Swick here, but this ended up being a little bit slower. There are a lot of leaves, loose mud there, so it was almost a little bit more beneficial to come in with a little less speed, so we're able to stay on the firmer left part of this track. And that's when the sooner you can get on the pedals, the sooner you can kind of get back up to speed. Catch a little bit of a breather, but actually you really can't catch a breather here because this off camber was so greasy and muddy that you really needed as much composure as you could, and it took full attention here. And this is one of the most, it gave everyone the most difficulty, I guess, in preview. There are a lot of people stopping to look at this off camber that we're going to approach in just a second here. Most everyone was running this turn. If you're able to ride this next drop, you're remounting here as I just did. And you'll see we have a lot of gawkers looking at this off camber. We're going to drop off right into the cobblestone climb. You want to make sure that you're able to get in the pedals quickly when you're in the cobblestones. That's why it's a little bit more advantageous to ride down this. But here we're going to watch Kerry Warner, leg out, dropping on. But you can kind of see that as he transitioned to the cobblestones, it was a very harsh transition. See, I'm trying a different line, a little bit more to the right, sliding down. But you can really see the bike drop into the gutter onto the cobblestones. And we didn't want to flat. We're still quite a ways away from the pits, so we wanted to protect the equipment. On a course like this, I'm running quite a bit higher tire pressure than I normally would. On a track like this, 24-25 PSI with Challenge Limas tires. I wanted that big tractor-like Limas tire to get the grip where I couldn't normally get the grip, but then the higher pressure to protect me from the rocks, the cobbles, and the roots that are starting to be exposed on this course. And this is one of the harder parts in the track where you had all that composure. You really couldn't rest on those steep drops down. And then you come into the base of the cobblestone climb, and it's this max effort to hold the wheel. And this is one of those tracks where at the end of the day, it's going to be you versus the course. It's less so about you versus your competition. It's more about, can you put together a clean 60 minutes and race the course well? Because if you overextend too early, you get too concerned with your competition, then you're going to overextend earlier on and then die down in the last couple laps, and you want to make sure that those are your fastest laps. This off camber here, over the last few years, it's gotten easier and easier. There's been shelves that have developed, but the race organizers move the off camber up to fresh ground. Here you see, out of the right, it's a bit more difficult, and I'm on the feet running this feature a lot sooner than I would have any previous edition. So this was a really cool way to make the course a bit more challenging. You needed that composure after this challenging cobblestone climb. If you had to get off early and run the off camber, then you're going to be running for another 30 seconds as we bend around to the right here. Caleb Schwartz right up here is telling me that I can, if I'm able to ride, find the rut all the way to the left, but it's such a heavy and difficult part of the track that no one's going to be able to ride up this hill. I thought I saw a video of Eli Iserby riding up this. He's a small, light guy and able to do that. He's got the power, but most everyone else was running this section here. You see Kevin Kuhn up just to my right. He passed us on the right. He was able to do a clean pass. Felipe Ortiz to my right there, Spanish champion. In the pre-ride, we're really not, especially on a course like this, it's not a maximum effort. We want to do some of these sections at race pace to see how the course is reacting to our tire pressure, but the effort, we're really conserving that effort for the race because it's such a heavy track. Two run-up lines here, left and right. It's all about how much space you feel like you need remounting at the top of this drop here. And there are a couple lines that developed on the drop. There is a left line that shot you to the right, and then a right line that shot you to the left. So you really had to be careful about what line you chose and where it was going to shoot you. And either side of the course, you didn't want to hook a post. In the pre-ride, I'm starting right, and it's going to drop me left. You can see the lines crisscross there. It's a little bit of a harsh transition, so in the race, I actually started left and shot right by the bottom, and that seemed like a little bit more smooth of a transition. Again, we're dropping down. This is one of those parts of the course where it's the last bit of reprieve because there's a lot of climbing about to happen. We're going to bend slowly to the right here. Keep that traction. Dismount. And it's a pretty long run-up. In the race, this is about a 30-second effort that you really want to be consistent with. And this is, a course like this really shows who's done their homework in their training. You want to make sure that you have the strength and conditioning training in your program, the stability work, the running, the agility, the work on and off the bike. And hopefully at the end of the race, you're not coming apart, you're not cramping, you're able to still be stable enough to where you can have a consistent effort throughout the entire 60 minutes here. Under the flyover, remounting here. Take a couple extra steps on the pavement to clean out the cleats, make sure the mud's out of there so you're able to clip in pretty quickly. In the event that you're coming in the finish in a small group or with another rider, this is about 100 meters to go. We're bending to the left here. and this is the finish straight. So on this course, typically there's always been the start and finish are separate from each other, especially in the classic, the old course where the start was on the cobblestone climb. We typically do about the entire lap before hitting the finish. That's about the same here. I may have misspoken earlier when I said pit 1 that we were coming by after the top of the Citadel. That's actually pit 2. We're going to be coming by pit 1 right now. Right after the finish, we have this 180 on the pavement, hopping that curb into the infield here, bending to the left, into the pits. And again, I talked about when you should pit, when it's more advantageous. I was pitting at least every other lap. Sometimes if I was in the front of a group, I would take a little reset, get a clean bike, even though I just got one, just to make sure I'm ahead of the curve if the race started to ramp it up, or whatever the case was. I wanted to make sure that I was able to take the opportunity and get a clean bike without rushing it. So we're about to come by where I hopped on the course in the first time. We're going to see the start on the left, and we're going to be right at the base of the Citadel. So Namur, an iconic, difficult track. It was an awesome race here. So thank you all for watching. Really appreciate it. We'll catch you at the next race.